Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Redington's webinar series. Today we have a session on Okta, which will be delivered by our pre-sales consultant, Mr. Ravi Petwala. Ravi, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. So today's I'm gonna talk about the Okta product, which is SSO and MFA, Single Sign-On and Multi-Factor Authentication, and how it can help organization to make sure that remote worker or home user remain safe and secure. And I would also like to tell you that we know that this is a challenging time and we are all in this together. So let's start about today's presentation. Millions of people use Okta every day. Even one of you might have used it but might not be aware of it, because most of the organization which uses Okta, it is in the back end. And you will see in the next slides that what are the customers that are using the Okta. As you can see, these are top global company around the world that uses Okta. 17,000 user for Experian. Some of you who might be fond of movies must be aware about the 20th Fox Century. 25,000 of users they are using the Okta. Even Twitter, for their own employee, they're using Okta, and MGM Resort, they are also using the Okta. And some of the other customer like Tesla Motors, Coca-Cola Enterprise, and you see this number in thousands. They are all are using Okta for the authentication purpose. Now, when for the authentication purpose, it is not only for their own employee, but also for the partners and the suppliers that they are working with. So every single one of the millions of users who use Okta, they think Okta as something which makes their job easy. There are only couple of category of application within all organization where employee need to use it every day. Maybe 4 or 5 application. You can think of application which you need to use every day. Again, as I said, people who use Okta think of it as something that makes their job easier, because they see this login screen on their laptop, or even in mobile. We have the mobile application as well. And once they log in into this authentication, they get all the application which you can see right now. And it's not only on a laptop, desktop, it is also available as a mobile application. So you can see right now on your screen, you can add as many applications as you want. And once you log in into the Okta, you don't need to provide the username and password for any of this application. So this is how we call it as a single sign-on. This administrator can assign to each user which application it can access, and even allow the user to add the application from our database. So we have more than 6,500 pre-integration available for application around the world, and the database which we have is the highest in the market right now. No other vendor provide this much amount of application integration. So the question is, why do these millions of people use Okta every day? Because of the, of course, security concern and cyber security. As I speak, it has evolved from vandalism to theft to war. And if every company is becoming a technology company, that also means that every company can be breached, because it can be reached online, right? And these are the number that we have gathered, and these are actually number that you can see that total breaches that occur is around 1,800. This number might have increased because this is not a full year report, and the data that has been compromised stands at 1.4 billion. Now, costing of this is huge, and 88% of these breaches is caused because of stolen or weak password. And because users are not using a strong password, they are using a most common password, or it is possible that user have shared the user login details somewhere on the phishing link. So this is the main reason about the authentication, that 88% of the breach is occurred because of the weak authentication, and this is why the reason that Okta is so successful in the market right now. Now, as I say, Okta secures one of the top largest company in the world, and it is not only workforce. When I say workforce, that means company's own employee. Now, if I want to give you the reference about the Middle East, Emirates is our one of the biggest customer. Millions of all the Emirates Sky Reward program that you see, that authentication is working on the Okta. Dubai Airport is also one of our largest customer. Then Kareem, the application or user name password authentication, that is also Okta, one of the biggest customer. Etihad Airways, they are also using the Okta. So we have a huge reference here, and they are using the Okta for millions of users. And as I say, it is not for only for the workforce, the company's own employee, but they are all, we can also protect the suppliers that you might need to work with. And it's not only about the supplier, it can also protect the partners, and most importantly, we can protect the customer of our organization as well, with whom you need to deal. So I would just like to share you a couple of the case study that we have delivered Okta. The first company is Adobe. Of course, Adobe is a technology company if there ever was one. It is sixth largest software company in the world. They are transforming themselves from making a product that you download and install into a laptop. I'm sure we all have used Adobe Reader, Photoshop for different reason. Now, whatever you were installing on the laptop, it is now available through the web browser. So what was product called Creative Suite is now Creative Cloud. And Adobe's customer, all of their enterprise customer, they access this cloud service using Okta technology. So when they log in into the cloud portal, Okta is working at the back end, and they use our API for the authentication technology to give the user better, but most important, secure access experience for the cloud, Creative Cloud. The second user that I want to discuss about is the MGM Resort. Now MGM Resort is another great example. They own half of the Las Vegas Strip. It's not only just property like MGM Grand. They have the multiple company under them like Bellagio Resort, Treasure Island. So they have different hotel chain under them. Each one of the property they are unique in themselves, but what we have done, we have created one identity for all of their customer and the loyalty program, which is called MLife. So we both secure both. We are securing and managing all of their identity. Millions of identity for all of their customer is managed by Okta, and the program name is MLife. So all of their user get great experience when they log in, and they able to see what their customer want, and even they can customize based on the identity. Different user, when they log in, they will get different promotion just because of the identity. And third one which I want to talk about is the 20th century. So as we know that they make one of the most iconic movie, and historically when they were created any new movie, they had to create the whole new IT infrastructure for each movie. And once the movie is done, they will wrap up, they will tear apart everything like Active Directory, Exchange, and once the movie is over, they will tear it all. And then they turn to the cloud to make that easier and more streamlined. Now today, 20th Fox century has gone completely digital. They connect around 200 organizations virtually using the cloud application like Box for the collaboration in the production, like different movie. You might have seen one of the movie, like you can see is the Martian. So Okta is the identity layer that connect all of these organization to their cloud application and make it more simple and secure. So when we see all these different case study of different customer, we see a pattern. We see Okta as a foundation for secure connection between people and technology. It is employee accessing their app not just cloud-based app, but the on-prem app as well, and not only from laptop or desktop, but from mobile application as well. It's remote worker using mobile devices, either devices they bought themselves or devices that company has provided. Again, also it's a partner that connecting to the portal to get more information, to help interact with their different companies or the customer, and customer also that connecting directly to the product. So Okta can securely connect anyone with anything. So when I say, and if you look at the two side of this equation, the people and the technology, it is many different type of people and many different type of technology, but both are in a flux, both are changing day to day. So the makeup of your workforce or the identity or your own employee is changing. It's not only employee, it's also contractor you are with whom you are working. It's also the partner that you need to manage into a supply chain, and the way that actually works is changing as well. People don't just sit behind a desk, they use mobile devices outside the organization, and the relationship with the business is changing more rapidly as well. But most significantly, the technology that they need to access and use is also changing. The app your user need and the product that you create as a company are changing faster than ever before. And that change is only accelerating. It's not going to slow down. Because of that, the one constant in this equation is identity. If you definitely know who someone is, what is their role, relationship to your organization, where they are located, what network they are on, what different devices they are using, what application they are trying to access, then you should be able to provide them most productive and most secure way for the personalized experience, regardless of how these users are changing. And the fundamental insight let Okta create entirely new category of product. We call it the Okta Identity Cloud. So Okta Identity Cloud has many different properties that make it unique. First, it is completely born and built into the cloud. Now you cannot put any specific software which is not built for cloud and you directly run on Azure or AWS and get what Okta is offering. Second, we connect everything. Technology is changing faster than ever before. So what your user need is different today than it was needed yesterday. And the only chance you have to be successful is to connect everything. And as a vendor, we are neutral, we are independent. We want your customer to connect to any technology that they want. For example, Microsoft want you to use Office 365, OneDrive, or their own CRM. They don't want you to use the Google app Salesforce box. And this is how Okta is different. Okta wants you to use whatever technology going to make your business more successful. So we connect everything. And by connecting everything, we preserve that choice, which is fundamental for you. And that choice is just not today, that choice in future as well. And if you're going to use Okta and what we do, we know that we are the front door for every employee access. We are the main, you can say, a gateway from where everyone can come in. So we are between the customer, company, and the customer. We are in the revenue system as well. So we have to be more reliable than anything we connect to. And we have all the certificate for the compliance purposes that makes Okta more secure than anyone else. And this all certification for the security is available publicly on our website. Okta Identity Cloud is comprised of multiple products. As you can see, we have total 7 products, and today I'm going to give you a short demo of single sign-on and the adaptive MFA. So this is where our main focus will be. I'm not going to discuss about the universal directory lifecycle management, another product, because the need of our is to make sure that remote user remains secure and how Okta can help you in that process. Just for the reference, Okta has been a leader for ever since this category was created, because before Okta, there was no separate category for the identity and access management. And we are the leader for last 6 years in. And this is the 2019 Gartner report. As you can see, we are far ahead than anyone else in the race, and most closest competitor is also Microsoft, which is not far, which is very far from us. So other reason also we are leader is because we have the best product, and if you see each product, they have their own mechanism to make the product successful, and mostly we will going to start with the single sign-on and the adaptive MFA. Yeah, so let's go single sign-on. So when we talk about the single sign-on and you log in into the Okta, this is how the screen looks like. And as I discussed, when most people think of Okta and SSO, they think of this as a web portal that easily access enterprise application on any device. It's easy and accessible, and it's always on. And we can also integrate with different application which is not available in our database. Any application that supports the latest authentication mechanism, that can also be integrated, and it is also available in the mobile application, Android and iOS. And this will reduce the help desk call and delight your end user, because they don't need to remember the password for each of the application, because if they forget the password for any application, they are going to call the IT, or they're going to create a ticket that puts a load on the IT team just to reset the password. So using the single sign-on product, it will reduce the help desk call. But Okta SSO is broader and more comprehensive than just a web portal. We rely on the 4 pillar, which is integrated access management. This is the pillar of the single sign-on: customizable user experience, secure directory with integration, real-time security reporting. Now I'm going to discuss about integration, access management, and customizable user experience. Secure directory with integration means if your username and password is already created, maybe on Active Directory, LDAP, Radius, then we will provide you the agent that you need to install on the any machine. It's not necessary to install on the server, and then you can integrate your Active Directory LDAP with Okta. So all the username and password which you can create on Active Directory can be used for the authentication, and the reporting is well available on the Okta portal. So the first pillar is the integrated access management. How do we enable authorization and access to all of application? So there are 3 components to this. First one is always remain the pre-integrated apps. So we have more than 6,500 pre-integrated apps for the single sign-on, and in this number, more than 700 supports the SAML integration. So SAML is also a new authentication technology that all the modern application they uses. And most significant, we have 0 backlog in our integration. This means that we support any application to your customer would need, whether today or in future, as they continue to grow and scale. Ultimately, a complete SSO solution must integrate with every single one of the application that you want to use, not just popular application like Salesforce, Office 365, but any application that you want to use. And if you don't find any of the application that you want to use in our pre-integrated app, then it's very easy even to support the custom built application with the Okta. The only proviso is it should support any of the authentication mechanism like secure web authentication, SAML, WS Federation, OpenID. These all are the method that is there, and any of your app is using this authentication mechanism, we can easily integrate with the Okta. Now, these are the application which we are talking, which is a browser based application which supports the web authentication. Now, what about the old application, legacy on-prem application? So we like Oracle CRM or different application which is there, which is very old. So in that case, we can authenticate through Radius or through any of our partner like F5 network, Citrix or Palo Alto network. All these vendor, they can act as a gateway and provide us the authentication information for the single sign-on. Now the key aspect of how we do SSO is our flexible policy engine. So it's not only that you can integrate any application, but you can create the policy as well. For example, you can create which user from different group can access specific application like Office 365, from where it can access, whether it can access from one specific country, whether it can access from your local network, whether it can access it from browser. And then you can select the action, whether you want to allow that to access the policy or whether you want to deny the access. So these are the flexible policy that you can create for single user, single group and single application. And you can make the combination of different thing for the flexible policy engine. Now, when I say this, the second pillar is the customizable consumer grade user experience, because it's very important that organization can display their brand, what they want to display to their end customer. As I mentioned, all of you might have used Okta, but you are not even aware of it because of this customizable consumer grade experience that we are providing. And user will not be aware about that Okta is doing the authentication. And it starts with our web portal that we all know, and user can edit their portal layout. They can drag drop the feature tab, and user can easily even provide the self-service by adding application in the web portal. And this is really become very easy for the administrator to duplicate on the different mobile devices as well. We also have out of box and API customization option. So company can create a login environment, for example, login page that matches their brand. So this is the great customization that you can create with the Okta. Now, when we talk about the single sign-on, that reduce the workload on the IT, because each employee does not have to remember the username and password for single application. They can use single user and password to log into the Okta, and once they log in, they just need to create on the any of the tab, and that application will open into the new tab. I will show you how this single sign-on looks like. But single sign-on, it's not going to enough for the remote user in today's world as we speak this situation, because hackers are using a different mechanism to find the username and password, and once they get it, they can access all these different application. So what we can do, we can provide adaptive MFA. When I say adaptive MFA, you might have heard about the multi-factor authentication. But what I mean by adaptive MFA, as the name suggests, it will adapt according to the user login request, and you can create a different policy based on that. Specific user will have to provide the second factor of authentication. Now there are plenty of evidence that to suggest that today's attackers are specifically targeting credential, and that leading to the breaches and compromised account. It's a combination of sophisticated actor, I would say, and poor password health and management, because nobody is going to change the password regularly. They will have the one password for maybe all their login detail, and because of that, as you can see, 81% of the data breaches involve stolen and weak credential. 91% of the phishing attack, they target credentials. So when you get a phishing email, they want your username and password. That is the 91% of the time. And 73% of the time what we have seen is the password are duplicated. The one user is using same username and password for all the different application, and they use the different technique like credential stuffing, brute force attack to gain access into the organization. And primarily the external threat vector, they're targeting this credential as we speak through phishing email. The second most popular method is social engineering. And instead of sending you a malware or a Trojan, they are often rely on asking user for their credential. They trick the user. And unfortunately, the weak user who are not aware about this kind of attacks and technique, they fall for it. And the other risk is through the insider. As we know that when an employee or someone authorized person who access certain application in the organization misuse their privilege for the malicious user, that is more dangerous than the phishing attack and the social engineering attack. And although attacker and the insider may not have all the credential, but once they have one of the main username and password to get access into your organization, they can use this. They can even use the privilege escalation. That means they can increase this privilege of what they can use, and then laterally they will move through the organization and to find out whatever necessary information that they need. So once they gain access of this critical application, they can do whatever they want. So this also means that hardening access to only critical application is no longer enough. You have to you have to put extensive strong authentication policy across the organization. Plus, when you think about it, more and more application can be considered critical based on how user is accessing this different data from the application. So the solution to satisfy all this condition is to secure identity and therefore access through strong authentication to all application service, no matter from where they are trying to log in. And in order to prevent this credential based threat, we need to enable operations, we need to enable users so that they can satisfy the compliance and they can use the true authentication solution that we need to provide, which is secure, which is simple to use, and most importantly, it can be applied across the organization. So it has to be extensible. So it's not only you just use the second factor of authentication and then it will be over. It has to be simple as well, and it has to be across the organization. So what does this secure authentication with MFA look like? So let's take a look at what secure authentication really means. First, because of your critical application that everyone can access from anywhere, we not only need to provide the local network, but anywhere all the user who can access it from anywhere. So in legacy deployment, for example, all your critical information was located in your local network on premise, right? It wasn't on the cloud. A lot of the application are still there in data center, but it's directly controllable, right? But as a service provider, they introduce this cloud service from AWS, Azure. More and more of your sensitive data is no longer on premise. It is no longer controlled by you, but rather than it is trusted by your partner and service provider in the cloud, right? So user working from remote location and using mobile devices that often aren't company owned, right? They bring their own device and they log in from their device to access the application, which we don't know whether it's secure, but what we need is we must make sure that it is secure. Finally, Finally, as organization expanded, the group of people that involve handling all this data has also increased. It's not only one IT administrator who is looking after everything. He need to provide access to different partners, suppliers, so that they can access the critical application. But the relationship to the company is more complex than before. Now, using the MFA with strong authentication means not only securing authentication and access across all environment and user group, but it has to be easy as well. And to facilitate this, MFA solution must provide a way to verify that a user, whether they are full-time employee, contractor, or supplier, is who they say they are. That means when they say this is my username password, using MFA, we have to make sure by second factor of authentication. So organization must also balance the security with usability as well. So there are different factors with which we can give the assurance level, allow the customization to different use case, ensure compliance with the regulation. So when you use MFA, we have to make sure that this second factor is compliance with the regulation, and ease of the use is also really important for this. So as you can see that this is on the graph below of the slide. Left side is low assurance and right side is the high assurance. So security question and password is of course going to be have very low assurance to the IT team, because we all know that password can easily be cracked. The second factor of authentication which we can use is a software OTP or SMS, or we can even call, or we can send a token via email as well, which will have a more higher assurance level compared to password and security question. And then you can use the Okta Verify push, which is available as free in single sign-on. There is no extra license required. And you can also use the physical token from different vendor like Dio or Ubiquio. You can integrate that app second factor of authentication, which is available as a hardware token, into Okta. And lastly, biometric. So biometric provides the highest assurance, because for example, either it's Apple Touch ID or Windows Hello. So that means it has some physical assurance from the user who is logged in. Now, this factor are used as a challenge when we think there is increased risk and somebody wants to establish a connection from the outside. So there are scenarios where we can assign the different risk level, but in reality, risk level can always be fluctuate based on the variety of the reason. So these are all the different type of authentication, second factor of authentication, which will provide the higher assurance. And you can use all this second factor of authentication in Okta, and most importantly, OTP push, Okta Verify push. It is available as free with single sign-on. You don't require any separate license for that. So MFA will come with Okta Single Sign-On. The only thing is adaptive MFA, it is a separate product. And this is how it looks like Okta Verify. If you see the mobile user screen, which I'm going to show you once this presentation is over, this is what Okta Verify push like. It says that this is the user, this is the browser, this is the time, this is a country location that has login request, whether you want to allow or you want to deny. So you just have to click on any of this button, and then this will allow user to log in into the application. So this is how that easy from the Okta. So it's provide a very secure method, and on the back end you can see that there are different second factor of authentication like Google authentication. You can see SMS authentication, and you can even put security question. So all you can use as a second factor of authentication. Now Okta Adaptive MFA, as I mentioned, this adaptive MFA there, when I say it integrate with the entire organization and entire security ecosystem. It's not only that it will be integrated with specific application. So with identity as a modern parameter, MFA and authentication, it plays a pivotal role in the organization in connecting the application. And next, what we need to do is to enable the business by connecting all these applications that are needed. So all these applications which you see, it has to be connected with the multi-factor authentication, whether you want to log in into Office 365 or you want to log in into Salesforce or LinkedIn, any application, or our MFA will be able to integrate with all these different kind of application. And finally, an ideal MFA solution extend to the other area of organization as well. With identity as a modern parameter, MFA will play a pivotal role in this, and this will allow the security team to correlate and derive meaningful data between authentication data and other security solution like antivirus solution, firewall, threat detection system, and they can correlate this different data, and then they will have the end-to-end visibility into the attack. So from what was behind it, from where the attack progressed through the network. So this is that customer can use by providing the integration with the SIM solution or even with the network firewall like Palo Alto F5 and so on. So to recap, the best practice right now in the COVID-19 situation, protecting the critical information and all the application has to be implemented using a strong authentication method that secures authentication from everywhere. It is easy to use for end user and administrator and integrate with entire ecosystem. And a strong authenticator solution that satisfy this condition not only help secure the organization from external threat, but supports the broader security initiative and increase the return of investment for all the security investment. And most importantly, it is going to reduce the technical call or a help desk call to the IT team, because nobody has to remember the username and password for each application. In fact, the new borderless network where we are right now, MFA and identity are building block of a modern security strategy that includes the strong authentication, centralized identity because all the username and password will remain on one location. It will reduce the risk through proper user life cycle. That means this is another product which we are not going to discuss today, which is life cycle management. So if employee leaves the company, that user will be automatically deleted from the Okta. So it will reduce the attack surface. And lastly, it provide holistic security visibility and enable IT teams in terms of incident response when there is any breach occur into the organization. So MFA is that easy to use in Okta. Now I'm going to show you how this MFA in real world can be useful. So I'm going to just stop my the screen sharing, and then again I will share the new screen. Just hold on for 1 minute. This is the URL to log in into the customer Okta portal. This is my URL. So where you need to provide the username. So once I provide the username, it will ask, of course, for the username and password. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my mobile screen as well. It will send, did you just try to sign in near Dubai, United Arab? So I will open this Okta Verify application and I will say, yes, it's me. So this is the second factor of authentication. And then once I set up, it will automatically log in into my portal where I have right now 2 applications for which the user and password is already set. So this is one Fortinet partner portal and second one is the Barracuda partner portal. So when I try to click on this tab, it will automatically redirect to the partner portal of the Fortinet, and then it will ask me whether you want to sign in into the Fortinet. I will say yes. So then it will automatically sign in, and here the another tab is Barracuda. So it will again automatically log me into the Barracuda partner portal, and these all application, as you can see, are integrated into the database. So these are all the application which is already there into our database. For example, Salesforce will be also there, and SuccessFactors. So all these application you can integrate into the Okta, and then you just need to click on one button. That's it. And on top of that, we will provide the MFA as well. Thank you very much, guys, for attending this presentation. If you have any question, just let me know. I'll be here to answer that.
So Ravi, there are no questions posted by anybody today. So all of you, we will be sending you the recording of the session. In case you have any queries, we will leave our contact details as well in the email, and y'all can write back to us with any queries you have. Thank you so much for your time, and hope all of you have a great weekend ahead.